for real this time. I know right before we got kicked off, you were mentioning that your dementia journey started in 2020,
Yes.
that you got dementia very young.
Yeah.
And yeah, and we were just getting to why you started your documenting your journey online. So share with us a little bit, why did you start documenting your journey online?
Well, because when I first got my diagnosis and I was experiencing all of these different symptoms that I'd never experienced before, I went to Google and was trying to find anybody or anybody similar to what I was going through or something that would explain what I was going through. And when I found out it was dementia, um, and I couldn't find anybody that was like me. Like it was usually just caretakers, like documenting, or older elderly people that were suffering from it, and those I could find like on YouTube. But I didn't really find anybody that I like related to or resonated with me, and so then I just went into this like spiral of depression, of like I'm so alone and nobody understands me, and what does this mean, and what is this going to look like, 5 years down the road? What can I expect? And so then I was talking to some friends, and they're like, well, why don't you share what you're going through? And I'm like, who wants to listen to that? And they're like, well, this is, you should be the person you need for yourself. And I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it just opened a whole window of, people do need this. And so it's not really about me anymore. It's more about what do other people need that are going to be going through this, and trying to build a community that they can kind of have a guide of what to expect.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah. And you guys who are watching live, or the recording of this, let us know if you're caregivers yourself, dementia caregivers yourself, or if you are somebody who has dementia yourself as well. Because yeah, I've had people email me that also have dementia themselves. So
yeah.
just for those of us who haven't, I would say most of us haven't gone through this. Like, what were some of the early signs that made you think like, like something's up?
Yeah, well, everybody has that sense of who they are, your whole life growing up, and that feeling of living inside my brain was different. It was just a different experience. It was kind of like I took a bunch of cold medicine and I couldn't think clearly. And I went
Mm,
through, the perimenopause thing, so I know that kind of cloudy thinking. It was way beyond that, and it
mm,
was also so I couldn't think clearly. I'd get confused really easily, and I my speech, my pattern of speech is changed.
mm.
Like there's a halt, and I can't find my words quickly, or I find the wrong words, and I started repeating the same questions. Like people would tell me the answer, and it just wouldn't stick, and that kept happening and kept happening. And then my balance became an issue, and all of these things, like it was just, you know, out of the blue. Within weeks, it just started building up, and so now when I walk, it's like being on a boat, or being on a
Mm.
dock that's kind of unsteady. I always feel that when I'm walking. So,
Wow.
and so especially when I'm outside, I use a cane, because I'm such a great fall risk. So in the house, it's a little bit more predictable. So I'm kind of acclimated to it now. So, so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and then I just thought it was kind of me, and so I didn't really talk. My sundowning hours are from the time I wake up, which is like 10 a.m. to about 12 p.m., and that's when I'm sundowning in the
Mm.
morning. And so I talk very little, and I because my words just don't come out right, and and so that's considered like the morning sundowning.
Mm.
And then after 4:30 is when I experience the, the other sundowning, the evening sundowning.
Yeah.
So between 1 and 4 is my sweet spots where I can function at this level. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So for anybody who doesn't know what sundowning is, it's basically it's not a disease within itself. It's a way to describe like the brain getting tired.
right.
Like honestly, that's how I've thought about it. Is
Yeah.
just there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of agitation.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you notice anything else about sundowning?
Cognition altogether, as far as, understanding what somebody's saying. Um, Typically, I'll hear like every third or fourth word. And so there's a lot of miscommunication that happens. And then agitation, because
Mm,
I get irritated that I can't understand, and then I can't get them to understand what I'm hearing. And it's just, a lot of communication things, and just, you know, dropping things, getting confused. Um, I've gotten I've gotten lost. I've forgotten who I'm in the house with. Like the brain just plays all sorts of, miswiring type things, or
yeah.
misfiring.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and if you start to get tired, you just let us know. Obviously, we understand,
Yeah.
for sure. So I want you to be comfortable. But
Okay.
let's see. Joe Ellen also asked, what calms you down when you're sundowning? That's a great question.
That is a great question. I'm definitely a fan of dim lights. I like I like lights to be turned down, and voices to be turned down, um, and maybe something that I enjoy. Like I enjoy um, watching YouTubes where they talk about like near death experiences, and um, things like that, and or documentaries, or anything animal related. They turn that on the TV, and just let me be, and
Mm,
don't and just let me have a calm environment, and don't ask me 30,000 questions, and just let me be. That really does help. And or music
mm,
helps as well. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Those are great tips. So it sounds like definitely a lot of calming the environment down, noise, lights, all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, just letting you chill, let your brain get going.
Turn on a little bit.
Turn on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, good question, Marty. He says, is there anything that you feel would be helpful for you when dealing with people? So is there anything that helps when you talk to folks?
That is a really good question. Um, and it makes me think a lot of past interactions. I really like it when I prefer things to be like one-on-one,
Mm,
interactions. And that's hard when you're out in the public, or when you have people over. But it helps a lot to have interactions that are just one-on-one. Um, and again, where they're not asking a lot of question after question after question. It's kind of like ask a question and allow me the time to answer it. Um, because when you have dementia, somebody asks you a question, you're instantly drawn into memories. At least I am, and
mm,
so it may trigger like a thought of a memory, and so then I have to include that memory or that story, and so they have to just be patient and just let me, because I don't want to be like corrected, and I don't want to be you told like it didn't happen that way, or I don't want to be told anything. I just want to be heard. I,
mm,
I guess so. But people on, on the regular, they when they're interacting, it seems to be they're listening to reply. They're not listening to actually hear that story, and that drives me nuts.
mm,
But and that may just be my personality, but that I've really noticed that, and just basically having patience with people that you you know, in the public, if if they come across me and they're like, you can always tell when the light bulb goes on in their head, like something's not right with her.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that. And so people, if they want to, you know, just kind of, I don't know how to hide that, but maybe just appreciate the interaction and not try to judge other people as much.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think that's true for any diagnosis, is you just never know what anybody in the public is going through.
yeah,
For sure. I know I've told caregivers it's good to have little business cards to give out to people who might be staring, just as discreet, just so they get the information, but you don't necessarily have to deal with, like, it could be kind of embarrassing
it
to
is.
for
Yeah.
your caregiver to be just like, she has dementia. Like,
Oh my God.
that's
Yeah.
awful. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's just a little bit more discreet where like the other person knows and they're like, okay,
And like,
I know what's going on.
yeah. And my husband will, you know, he'll go into a store with me, and because I am, you know, fiercely independent because of my age, you know, I'm not ready to let go of the reins. And so he'll just kind of shadow me while I, you know, say at the register trying to purchase something, and he'll just watch what I'm doing and, you know, won't say anything. But if it looks like I'm struggling, he'll just be like, tap that there, you know, but not to the point where it's so obvious. And so that really helps, just kind of guiding me through instead of taking my card away from me and taking over. That would be really hurtful for
Yeah.
somebody to do that.
Yeah.
But I know that people are impatient and they want to get through that line and get on with what they're doing. And so I see a lot of caregivers stepping in too soon and not letting
Mm.
the person try and work through whatever problem they're having.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that too. There's a lot of, and you can tell me if you agree with this or not. It
okay.
seems like a lot of caregivers overestimate how much like emotionally someone with dementia can take on, and they way underestimate what they could still physically do. I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody, but I think what's there is like they expect you to be able to cognitively keep up and be able
Yes.
to emotionally just deal with everything, when I'm sure just because of what you're going through, that's lowered. But at
Yeah.
the same point in time, it's like so many of them act like you can't physically do anything, like, put the freaking credit card into the card reader.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and they may be trying to save that person embarrassment and, or, you know, the embarrassment of failing, but, you know, we still have to be able to feel like we're somewhat independent and we can do this, you know, and I mean, I think with me, I'm better at doing things physically than I am the emotional part of it, like
Mm.
navigating all the different things that come with interactions. Because I'm pretty empathetic, and so I tune into every little thing, and that still affects me, and it's fatiguing. It's really exhausting. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So if there's, I guess, anything that you would want everybody to know about your experience just in general, like what would you want them to know? That might be too big of an open-ended question.
Yeah, that's too broad, I think.
That's too broad. Okay, maybe hone it in a little bit. What's one thing maybe your husband or any other folks that are helping you, like what's like the best thing they've done to help you? There we go.
Oh,
A little bit more specific.
yeah. Um, just their overall
Mm,
compassion and
mm,
understanding. I mean, they just, um, you know, my husband especially, I don't think I could be having, I know I couldn't be having this experience with anybody else, just because he is so patient and so understanding, and he goes above and beyond to, you know, make sure I'm safe, make sure I'm comfortable, make sure emotionally I feel seen and heard. I mean, he's just a really incredible person, and he really takes accountability. Like if he is coming in too strong, like his energy is too strong, or if I say, whoa, you know, you need to calm down, he's really good at not getting defensive
Mm,
and saying, oh, I need to, you know, breathe and bring it down a little bit. And he just adjusts to whatever I'm feeling, and really is true to that, meeting them where they're at, meeting them where they're at. He really is really good at recognizing where he needs to be to meet me at where I'm at. So, I mean, I don't think I could do this without him for sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like that's what everybody with dementia deserves,
Yeah.
is someone who really gets them. And I mean, or really just with any diagnosis that
Yeah.
makes it so they're not like your typical person walking through the world, for sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll try to wrap things up a little bit,
Okay.
just because I know we're getting, I know you had mentioned your morning sundowning. I know you have afternoon sundowning too, so we
Yeah.
want to be mindful of all of that. But
Okay.
um I guess, what is like a piece of advice you would give to uh either someone who just got diagnosed with dementia, or even like someone who just got into caregiving? Some, like, what's a piece of advice you would give them?
I would say, the biggest thing is to keep advocating for yourself,
Mm,
um, and research as much as you can, because you know I came into this pretty, um, uneducated,
mm,
as far as what dementia is, and so I really, spent a good 2 or 3 years reading everything I could possibly learn about how the brain works and how to get my brain to function at its best. So, um, try not to see it as like a death sentence, because, and that's why I my hashtag that I use is living with dementia, because you know, yes, I'm technically dying with dementia, but I still have a lot of life to live. And so, you know, what things make you happy, what brings you joy, what keeps you motivated, what inspires you. And as far as with a caregiver, you know, use those things for the person you're taking care of. Like, how can you motivate them to be engaged without overwhelming them? What inspires them? You know, what topics do they like, you know, to talk about? And so that you keep the person engaged with the here and the now for as long as possible.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I think way too many people are way too focused on what their person or what they themselves are losing.
Yeah,
I think that's a great perspective to have, of like, what can I still do today?
yeah,
What am I capable of today? And
yeah,
what do I have to give? I think is a lot more empowering, for sure.
exactly.
For
Yeah.
sure. And you definitely have a lot to give. Like, I'm sure everybody on this live can also attest, like, we're all extremely impressed
Well,
with,
thank
I mean,
you.
because the thing is like, even again, just as a regular person, you still, even by like regular person standards, incredibly articulate, incredibly smart, and well spoken. So,
Thank you.
um, I don't want to put the asterisk of like, for someone with dementia, because it's not even
Well,
like,
thank
just
you.
in general. So
And
yeah.
that's the tricky part, is because, you know, when people see me online in videos or things like this, you know, I'm running on adrenaline. And so this is
Mm,
like me amped up and my brain working as high as it can possibly function. But there's going to be a flip side, you know, when
mm,
I will pay for that. So, you know, for every energy that I put out there or try to bring myself up, I'm gonna crash, is what I'm trying to say.
oh,
and it's just, that's the reality with dementia. And people will say, well, she seemed like she was great. Like, you know, to other family members, like, what are you worried about? She seemed great with me, and she was doing this and that. And another family member or caregiver may see the crash part of it, where
mm,
the cognition is affected, can't problem solve, and just thoroughly exhausted. So I just want to clarify that so people don't think, oh my God, I'm like this all the time, because that's
Yeah.
not reality, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely for sure. So I
Yeah.
think everybody's experiences are valid, whether you're the caregiver who sees, and I'm talking to folks who are on chat or watching the replay of this, whether you see the crash or you see like the good moments, for
Yeah.
sure. I think both are valid and both are valid for you
Yeah.
experiencing it, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Thank you.
So yeah, so we'll wrap this up just so you can rest, but where can
Okay.
we find you?
I'm on TikTok under Welcome to Dementia. It's actually Jana, Welcome to Dementia. I'm on YouTube under Welcome to Dementia. I'm on here under Welcome to Dementia. I think that's it. I think that's all the places that I'm currently at. So,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And Never Give Up says, you're such an inspiration. Thank you so much for the insight and sharing your energy. Appreciate it so much. Yeah,
thank you.
absolutely. And Yvette, please feel free to comment that same question below the replay of this post. And I guess when you're able to get recharged, maybe you can go back and answer
It,
some questions later. If anybody, I guess, who's watching this replay, feel free to just put down a question you have that maybe we didn't get to. And you can always come
there
come
was
back and answer it later.
there, there was one question I think is worth mentioning.
Okay.
They asked, how do I deal with the fear of the unknown? And unfortunately and fortunately, I have apathy. That's the only thing that keeps me from not curling up in a ball, in a fetal position, and allows me to function on a more logical um, part of it, and not feel the fear so much, because the anxiety and the fear would probably paralyze me,
Yeah, understandably
cognitively.
so.
Yeah. So the blessing, I think, for me is the apathy that I experience. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a different perspective on apathy for sure. But yeah,
yeah.
that's true. When the alternative is crushing anxiety, then yeah, that would be better for
Yeah.
sure. Oh
Yeah.
man,
Exactly.
crazy.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your patience. Oh, I know, like none of the technology thing was your fault. It was like I don't know what the heck was going
Wow.
on, but I appreciate you powering through that with me and
You bet.
for sharing your insights and your energy and yeah, hopefully
And
we'll get to chat.
thank you for letting me do this and spread awareness too. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's so valuable and yeah, hopefully we'll talk again soon. So,
Okay.
all right. Awesome.
All right.
All right.
Have
Bye
a good day.
everybody. Bye Jana. You have a great afternoon, okay?
Thanks. You too.
Bye-bye.